In 1917, the Malaysian government introduced a development plan called the New Economic Policy to improve the society's condition after the racial unrest in May 1969. The objectives are to eradicate poverty and restructure society, to eliminate the identification of races with economic function to create a suitable condition for the unification process. At that time, the plan was considered relevant due to the imbalance of socio-economy among the population as well as the existing gap between races in Malaysia, be it in culture, economy, social, and many more. However, as time progressed, Malaysia initiated a new policy in 1991 due to the changes within the country. We believe that the basic need approach is the most appropriate to describe this policy. Generally, the purpose is to provide basic needs for the population such as basic personal consumption, access to essential service, stable job and qualitative needs. Apart from that, we also believe that this policy illustrated the characteristic of this approach, that is, the focus on agraric development and support for the urban informal sector. In this presentation, we will discuss the merits and demerits of the new economic policy that is still visible today. Firstly, we will talk about the implementation of the policy, the project initiated as well as the achievements. Secondly, we will highlight the criticism about the policy, and the last one is the conclusion for this presentation.
Hello, my name is Aiman, and now I will explain to you on the methods that the government apply for this new economic policy, or in Malay we call it as Dasar Ekonomi Baru in Malaysia. Firstly, in order to eradicate poverty among the citizens, the government have come up with the methods to solve the socio-economic problems in Malaysia. The government have created jobs opportunity for all citizens who is unemployed to increase their economical strength. Next, the government also decrease the income disparity gaps between the urban area and the rural area. And in order to do that, the government have committed to modernize life and the living standard in the rural area through the regional development project such as Jengka, Dara, Kejora, Ketengah and Kesedar. This new land development project will be administered by Felda and Fekra. Through the new economic policy, the government also equipped all the basic amenities and infrastructure like water, electricity, roads, communication line, healthcare services and educational services such as school to that area. With the rural development project, it will attract people from the rural area to migrate to the new settlement under the Felda and Fekra administration area, and they were permitted to work and develop the land for the agriculture community area. Next, in order to create the business and industrial group among the citizens, especially for the Malays and Bumiputra, to achieve the 30% in the economy by the year of the 1990, the government have created MARA, Bank Bumiputra and Amanah Saham Nasional as supportive agency for this objective. The new economic policy also focus on the development of the urban area by doing the urban transformation plan to increase the living standards for the urban population. It will decrease the urban poverty while increase the housing area, increase the job opportunity, and also to increase the economy of the urban population by the rapid development and industrialization. Through the new economic policy, it managed to decrease the national poverty rates to 60.5% in the last year of 1990. The new economic policy itself also achieved to increase the number of the participation in the Malay professional group to 31.1% in the year of 1995 if we compare to only 4.9% before the implementation of the new economic policy. And lastly, the new economic policy itself also managed to increase the equity holdings and educational levels among the Bumiputra.
First and foremost, it sought for the benefits of the majority of the populations. Although it is understandable from a standpoint of post-colonial nations, which the colonial governments sought to favor one group over another or adopted the policy of divide and rule, this runs counter to the general perceptions of affirmative action being targeted at a discriminated minority. Second of all, the instrumentations and implementations of NEP here defined broadly to cover the entire portfolio of affirmative policies and programs has since evolved to become among the most pervasive in coverage from education to employment and asset ownership. Affirmative action is implemented not only through public expenditure targeted at institutions that serve exclusively for this group, which is the Bumiputra, but they are also treated preferentially in the selections for tertiary educations and employment, reservations of quotas and housing and shares in listed companies, and also the award of public contracts to their companies. Thirdly, although affirmative action is targeted at improving the economic circumstances of the disadvantaged group, and progress is usually benchmarked against the incomes of the disadvantaged individuals, the NEP does not use income as the primary criterion, instead defining disadvantage in terms of particular racial groups, namely the Bumiputra, and that is mostly Malays, on the grounds that they account for the bulk of the disadvantage. As a result, the disadvantaged non-Bumiputra is excluded from the benefits bestowed by the NEP. Even for the Bumiputra group, personal or household income is not used as a measure of success. Instead, corporate ownerships, not the most obvious measure of economic well-being, is used as the benchmark of effectiveness for the affirmative action. Achievement or underachievement of the corporate ownership target of 30% therefore leaves unclear the extent to which economic welfare, measured by the normal yardstick of income, has improved.
Okay, for the conclusion, even though the target is still not achieved, and they still have a gap among the rest, and they were low Malay participant in business sector, the new economic policy is still in the initial phase of a success. But we can say that the new economic policy was a success because from the year 1990, which the first long-term plan was ended, it have evolved rapidly despite various obstacles that have been encountered. This is due to the existence of a national development policy which has been used in the framework of the second long-term plan, because in the national development policy, it stimulates national unity will continue to be the ultimate goal as a cohesive society and essential to further strengthen social and political stability and also sustain sustainable economic development. The national development policy set step toward enabling Malaysia to achieve the status of developed country in all aspects, namely in terms of social justice, value, ethnic and moral, political stability, quality of life, and efficient government and administration and economic excellence. Therefore, government need to execute more comprehensive action in promoting development. So, that's all from us. Thank you.